The Gulf of Aden on the edge of the Red Sea is the only way in or out for ships entering and leaving the Suez Canal, making it one of the world's busiest and most important waterways. On any single day, millions of tons of goods travel through this narrow strait that connects east and west. It's a crucial supply line for world trade, and with over 3 million gallons of crude oil passing through here each day, interrupting this vital artery could send seismic tremors through world markets.
Piracy has increased throughout the Gulf of Aden, and the Gulf of Aden is one of our major hubs for transnational shipping going through en route to the Suez Canal. So the piracy has a distinct impact on the economies of the world, and we're deployed here to contribute to the international effort to reduce the amount of piracy and to maintain the security of shipping throughout the region.
The critical waterway between the coast of Yemen and Somalia has become a hub of pirate activity, which now poses one of the biggest threats to merchant shipping on the planet. Controlling it and stemming the problem of banditry at sea has become a top priority for navies from all around the world. Task forces from the European Union, the United States, China, Japan and Russia are making their mark and have been joined by others from as far off as Malaysia and Korea. Now NATO has decided to send a fleet of its own. After leaving port in Lisbon, crossing the Mediterranean and passing through the Suez Canal, the NRP Quarter Real is making its final port call in Djibouti before it sets sail for its tour in the Gulf of Aden. NATO's Standing Maritime Group 1's mission, Operation Allied Protector, is to deter and, if necessary, to fight pirates off the coast of Somalia that threaten the shipping lanes for a tenth of the world's trade.
This mission is a contribution of NATO to security of the sea lines of communications in the waters of Horn of Africa, in conjunction with other nations and other forces that are in this area.
The 5 ships, including 1 each from the United States, Canada, Portugal, Spain and the Netherlands, will conduct surveillance tasks and provide protection to deter and suppress piracy and armed robbery.
Our tasks are mainly to deter, to protect, to disrupt pirate attacks against shipping here in the area operations, which is Gulf of Aden, between Yemen and Somali coast.
Under the cloak of night, the NATO flagship pulls out of Djibouti harbour and heads out to sea. Their course, the most dangerous waters in the world. Having left Djibouti behind the night before, the NATO flagship NRP Quarter Real is nearing its area of operation. Already land has fallen far out of sight and all stations must be manned at all times. The first officer of the watch is Second Lieutenant Bruno Venancio.
During the night we were in transit to the Gulf of Aden area of operations, and we haven't got any activity. The contacts that we have were only merchant vessels and local fishing vessels that were positively identified by visual and radar. Our ship has a designated area. For the whole area of operations we have a specific area tasked for our ship, and that's where we're going. It's our location, the ship location, and we are about 100 miles for our assigned areas. In the whole area of operations, that's our 4 little boxes that they are assigned to the ship, and we are supposed there to arrive at 1400 this afternoon.
A few hours and many nautical miles later, the frigate is nearing its operations quadrant and activity on the bridge is increasing. As the radar picks up a number of unidentified vessels, the crew tries to make radio contact with these ships. The officers on the radio want to know where they are coming from and where they are heading.
It's just a procedure to have a better picture of how many vessels cross this area, and so we can have the information also if they detect some illegal activity or something suspicious on this area. If so, they report to us, and we have another different picture of what is going or what is happening in this area. That's why we call every ship that passes in this area. We trace them on the radar and on the automatic identification system as also. In there we can have all kinds of information like IMO number, name, destination, and we can confront him with the VHF information that he reports, and if it's a match. The ship at the moment is steering at north, trying to reach the north area of the area, and try to reach more merchant vessels, then we can get more information about the activities that are going on in this area.
While the bridge continues to scan the area, activity on the flight deck has also picked up. In the hunt for pirates, one of the most effective weapons is the helicopter. Able to scan hundreds of square miles, the Superlynx can provide a more accurate picture of maritime activity and the movements of ships through the region. In low flight, the helicopter is used for aerial surveillance of even the smallest crafts.
Mainly a threat we are facing here are the dhows, which are the specific fishing vessels in that part of the world, and also the skiffs. Normally the skiffs are working together with a dhow, which works as a mothership of the skiffs. And the skiffs are very, the speed is too wide, so normally we use our ELO, organic helicopter, in order to detect any kind of skiff with a suspicious movement. And then the helicopter is in permanent contact with us, of course, and if we know that these movements are not as suspicious, we normally go with the ship until the position where the helicopter is.
Flight Commander Braj is in charge of the flight crew.
While we are flying, what we most want is to know what's around the ship and the force at all times in order to get what we call a maritime situational awareness at all times. Basically that's it. We identify each ship around us, help the ship to build a maritime picture so that we can, if something happens, we can respond almost instantly, and it gives us the tactical edge we need.
This tactical edge was soon proved to be very useful. After several days in the Gulf of Aden, the NATO ships have not found anything suspicious and haven't yet received any reports of pirate incidents in these otherwise hostile waters. The presence of warships in the area seems to be having the desired effect.
Nothing suspicious in this area, probably because of the large amount of warships escorting convoys and patrolling the areas. Probably the pirates are too scared to show up. Okay.
Just as everything seems calm, the first reports of pirate activity start streaming in. A pirate skiff has attacked a vessel nearby.
The yacht at this time has not been pirated. We don't have direct contact with them, but they have not at this time been taken over. It's in the area. They said that they lost sight of it. So I don't know whether it's because of the long shadows or what, but they said that they lost sight of it. But the Halliburton itself is approaching that area. So.
With nighttime rapidly approaching, the pirate ships need to be located quickly to avoid a dangerous nighttime boarding operation. While the Halliburton continues to look for the pirate skiff, the Corte Real lines up with the FGS Spessart for replenishment. Replenishment complete, darkness has fallen fast, with the little moonlight on this night rapidly making any chances of the USS Halliburton catching the pirates diminish.
After the main action took place, Halliburton's Seahawk was tasked to search and look for the pirate vessel, and he did found it and track it for approximately 2 hours until she has to return to replenish on board of Azerbaijan. Due to the great distance between NATO ships and the pirate vessel, all action has been carried out with the helicopter. When the helicopter needed to return to Mother to replenish, the contact was lost. There was an attempt from the surface ships to try to relocate the pirate vessel. However, night came in and it was impossible to locate. It was a failed attack by the pirates, so NATO forces were able to disrupt that piracy action, leading the ship, the pirate ship, to abandon his operation and try to seek for hide in coastal waters.
Having lost the pirates the day before, it is a new day for the fleet. On board the NRP Corte Real, the radar has picked up a skiff that is heading directly for the ship. Not taking any chances, the officer on the bridge decides to send out a party of Marines in a rapid inflatable boat to take a closer look. Though common in these waters, nothing will prepare the crew for what they are about to find. It's a small skiff packed to the brim with refugees. They are trying to escape from war-torn Somalia and heading for Yemen. Photographer Carlos Diaz was on board the speedboat that took a closer look.
They were people, they were refugees, leaving Somalia for Yemen. It was very difficult to see, because I saw many people in a very small boat, in conditions not fit for survival, and a small kid. It was a difficult situation. There were many men and women, and even a small child, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years of age. They told us that, yes, they had water and food. They just wanted to carry on with their journey. We asked them if they needed a doctor or anything, and they told us they didn't. They just wanted to leave. They wanted to carry on with their journey. I saw that they were pouring water out of the ship all the time, constantly pouring water out of the ship. It was really small and in really bad condition. I felt a lot, because I too have a child of the same age, and it's complicated knowing there are so many people who are getting such a poor deal in life. I was thinking, how will this kid arrive on land? So much water, this heat. I felt very sad. I felt sadness, impotence and sadness, because we could not do anything against what is happening in the world. There's a lot of poverty in this part of the world.
The refugees are emblematic of a number of problems in the Horn of Africa, not least the difficult political situation on land. Piracy is seen by many as the maritime consequence of chaos on land in surrounding countries such as Somalia. They believe that as long as no solution is found on Somali soil, pirates will continue to operate at the behest of warlords.
I think to really solve the problem, the things need to be improved ashore. From most of the countries that the pirates come from, the economies aren't strong, and the people are suffering. So they look to illegal means to make ends meet and to make the days go by.
It's important to deter and suppress this situation. However, at the long term, we need to improve and focus on the situations that arise from the roots of the problem in Somalia.
Something should be done ashore. I think in political terms, something has to be done. But we are facing that threat now at sea, so we have to react. We cannot stay waiting for any other solution.
While the international community has started discussions on how to tackle the root causes of piracy in this region, it is clear that piracy will remain a problem for some time to come.
NATO warship 5332, NATO warship 5332, motor vessel Grandessa calling NATO warship.
Distinguishing pirates from local fishermen is a daunting task that doesn't make the fight against banditry at sea any easier.
Please advise us what you recommend that we do over we are vulnerable slow boats.
The Corte Real picks up a distress call on the VHF radio from the very same vessel that was attacked the night before. 2 dhows with skiffs in tow have been spotted, and there have been reports of 2 pirate ships in the area. The crew on the bridge is forced to act immediately.
Scramble links! Scramble links!
We sent the helicopter to investigate the possible position of the skiffs. Yeah? And we closed the position as well.
Minutes later, the helicopter is airborne, armed and ready to investigate the vessels further. As they approach, they can make out 2 simple fishing dhows with a skiff in tow. Looking through binoculars, they're able to take a closer look. Disguised as fishermen or simple merchants, it's dhows like these that pirates use as motherships, and the skiff could be used for attacking merchant vessels. But it is the fishing season, so knowing who is a pirate and who is not is all the more difficult.
It's a vast body of water with lots of traffic going through, lots of legitimate cargo traffic going through, as well as legitimate fisheries, small dhows cargo dhows from India, as well as I say, fishing dhows and skiffs from Somalia and Yemen make this a very busy waterway and very difficult to pick out the illegitimate activity from the legitimate fishing and normal cargo activity that goes through here. There's very limited intel that would indicate whether or not a vessel is involved in piracy activity. So at this point, we'll use our helicopters and air assets to be able to fly over top of the skiffs, look inside, and see if there's anything that would indicate that they are doing something other than normally fishing or so on and so forth. So we're looking for fishing nets and fishing activity. Actual piracy activity, unless we actually see something in the act of piracy, it's very difficult to tell, to say that's a pirate. By virtue of who they are, pirates aren't easy to spot, and that's a challenge. It's trying to weed out the illegitimate pirates from the legitimate fishing activity in the area.
Having taken a closer look, Lieutenant Commander Braj does not think there was anything suspicious.
Probably it was fishermen en route to some home port, something like that. Thing is, we had to question them and perform our info operations duties, which is telling them that we are here to protect, stuff like that. The thing is, looking from the merchant vessel perspective, they look pretty much suspicious. We have to get closer and see what they are doing on the decks and what do they have in order to build a more accurate assessment of whether or not they are a threat.
After having processed the information provided by the aircrew, the bridge decides to dispatch a team of heavily armed Marines to take a closer look in their speedboats. Within minutes, they have stopped the ships.
If they are pirates, in the beginning probably they won't let us to approach the ship, I think. And then we have first to stop them. And we can use, of course, our helicopter because it's the fastest way to do that. And once they are stopped, we can send a team, a security team, in our RIB in order to check everything they have on board. If they have any type of weapons, who they are, what they were doing here, what they are going next when they leave this area. So we try to find out every detail we can on board of these skiffs.
But the Marines return with the same conclusions as the helicopter.
It's just some fishermen. They were just fishing, nothing more.
The waters here are a complex environment, and the NATO ships have to work hard to identify pirate vessels. Soon their determination will be rewarded. The difficulty of distinguishing pirates from fishermen is just one of many problems navies face when battling piracy at sea. The sheer size of this body of water means that reaching the scene following a pirate attack can be just as challenging. While the last incident for the Corte Real was just a false alarm, elsewhere in the Gulf of Aden some ships have not been as lucky, and it becomes very clear why these are seen as the most dangerous waters in the world.
We have at least two confirmed attempts, and we have some false alarms from ships that were crossing the Gulf of Aden and noticed some suspicious activity and report as piracy attacks. Nevertheless, quite a few false alarms and two confirmed hijacking attempts. The Spanish frigate Blas de Lezo had intercept and communications also on VHF channel 16. A vessel report that she was under an hijacking attempt by an unidentified skiff where a few suspected pirates were trying to climb using ropes and ladders. It's unconfirmed. Nevertheless, we have ordered Blas de Lezo to proceed and investigate in the location where the hijacking attempt occurred.
Having received orders to hunt down the pirates, things on board the Spanish frigate Blas de Lezo are heating up. But with night time again approaching, will they find them in time?
Well, we've received a distress call, VHF. It was a merchant vessel stating that she had suffered an attack, a pirate attack, unsuccessful attack, and we've just speed up and we're proceeding to the area, and we're actually searching for any suspicious activity in the vicinity. We are like 10 nautical miles from the merchant vessel, and we're proceeding to the area and executing radar and FLIR investigation. Yeah, at night time, of course, and today it's new moon, so there's no light, and we need to actually use infrared cameras in order to detect any kind of surface contacts, and of course identify them. Most all of the attacks are at daytime. Normally at daytime. It's not normal to have nighttime attacks. We approached the merchant vessel, and we've made a radar and an infrared search in the area, and well, no suspicious activity has been detected, and therefore we will continue with our previous orders, and there's nothing to report. We have no luck, and well, we'll keep searching.
Okay.
Having lost the pirates, nevertheless, the NATO fleet has managed to thwart a possible hijacking. The increased presence of warships seems to be working, but the pirates just keep getting away. With pirate activity in the area confirmed, the fleet cannot just wait for the pirates to come to them. Unexpectedly, the very next day, this is exactly what happens.
The attack was unsuccessful. The pirates are using one skiff with 7 POB on board. Machine guns were used during this attack. All vessels are requested to report suspicious activity or possible piracy and prepare to take countermeasures and evasive actions.
Incredibly, pirates have attacked the replenishment tanker FGS Spessart. Usually part of the NATO Standing Maritime Group 1, it is sailing under the EU flag with Task Force Atalanta for this mission. Later, the captain of the FGS Spessart, Wolfgang Schmidt, was to recount what happened.
Das Ganze lief relativ schnell ab.
It all happened relatively quickly. If you take a look at the time schedule, you'll see that it took a maximum of about 15 minutes. Sometime just before 2 o'clock, my second officer called me and told me that a skiff had been spotted at a distance of about 2 nautical miles. The skiff was lying dead in the water and was probably fishermen. We both assessed the situation, and I told him to increase to maximum speed as a precaution. Up until then, we'd been doing about 12.5 knots. I told him to increase the distance between us and the skiff by changing the course by 30 degrees to the starboard side. We had hardly started turning before the skiff started to increase its speed and turned towards us on a course for interception. By this time it was no more than 1.5 miles away, and as a tanker needs a certain amount of time before it has increased speed when it's doing 12 knots, the skiff came rapidly closer. My first officer recognised it immediately and came running upstairs. We practically all sounded the alarm at the same time. My first officer then grabbed the signals gun so as to shoot a warning shot in front of the bow of the skiff, which means as much as to stay away from me. The force protection team was on station within a minute, cleared the guns, and just as my first officer wanted to shoot the warning shot, the pirates, or alleged pirates, started firing. It was about 5 or 10 shots. I can't really say, but it was definitely not more than 10 shots. Following this, the Force Protection Marines returned fire. They used the front machine and the back machine gun to shoot directly in front of the bow of the ship. After the first few shots, the pirates didn't stop. It was only after the second salvo that they realised that something was wrong and they had not attacked a normal tanker. From the top you could clearly recognise the look of disbelief as they turned away. My next decision was to follow the skiff. By this time we'd informed our NATO partners. As well as our European Union partners, the Americans had been informed. We told them that we were pursuing the skiff at a safe distance so that we didn't run the danger of being hit by an RPG. A ship like this would go up in flames, so we followed them at a distance of 2 nautical miles and waited until reinforcements arrived. About 2 or 3 hours later, we managed to stop them with the help of helicopters. By this time we were quite close to the boat. They were sitting together, cowering in the back of the boat, and I was able to get a closer glimpse of them. But during the attack, I have to say, I didn't see much of these guys. I don't want to say that I needed this, and it really only has to happen once, but that's the way it is. You know what's going on down here, and it happens to people every day that they are attacked, at least in recent times, and they're even kidnapped. I had hoped that it would not happen in a grey ship, but these things happen. You have to remember that we have a very good crew on board. We train very hard for these types of situations, and so everything went well this time.
Captain Eric Reimacher is the captain of the 7 Provinces, one of the ships that came to the help of the Spessart and helped apprehend the pirates.
The maritime counter-piracy in this area is conducted by several task forces, not only NATO but also a European Union task force and a American-led CTF 151 task force. And I think yesterday's operation was an example of cooperation between the task forces and where we could complement each other. That actually happened. The pirates have been taken into custody. We received a signal this afternoon telling us that the European naval force took over, and they're actually on board of the German ship in custody by the military police. So that actually points out that the 7 provinces, as part of the Standing NATO Maritime Group 1, together with the other task forces in the area, achieved the aim of fighting piracy in this area.
The attack on the FGS Spessart highlights the importance of interaction between different international actors in battling piracy in the Gulf of Aden. The sheer size of these waters makes communication between different navies essential, as any one ship or even task force would have great difficulties getting to an incident in time. Lieutenant Commander Sebastian Lee is responsible for communication between the various NATO ships, and his job is made even more of a challenge by the various other task forces and nationalities operating in the Gulf of Aden.
We're not just dealing with NATO units, we're dealing with EU units, also coalition units, and actually there's some Chinese, Japanese and Indians as well. So that's all challenging, but I'm pleased to say that it's all working very well, and we are working very well together as an entire group. We communicate insofar as deconfliction amongst the task force. Clearly we're all out here to do the same job, and it's important therefore that we attempt to that we do communicate with each other to deconflict, and therefore to provide a more efficient anti-piracy service, for want of a better term, amongst well, to achieve the overall aim, which is to obviously counter the piracy, to allow freedom of navigation for all merchant vessels in and out of the Gulf of Aden. Without doubt, an important mission that we are all doing, regardless of task force, unit, country. It's in everybody's interest, and that is so much proven where we have Chinese and Japanese forces amongst us, and Indians as well. And frankly, the more nations that we can get on side, then perhaps the easier our task might be.
Having extra sets of eyes throughout this very large piece of water is very helpful. So as long as we can maintain the communications, as I said, having those extra set of eyes is very beneficial. However, all of these navies aren't used to working side by side. Of course, as a NATO task group, we are, so our communications procedures are very well established. However, working with, say, the Indians and the Russians is not as well established and can be challenging at times. But we're raking out fairly well.
But it is not just communication with the different navies that is essential to better combat the problem of banditry at sea.
The challenges of the task are clearly identification and situational awareness, and as such we have to know what's going on around us, and we are assisted by the many facets that communications and modern technology bring us, namely that a lot of the merchant ships have communications of their own, and they are able to raise any potential alarms, which we are then able to investigate. And so this is not just a military operation, this is a communal, cohesive operation, well coordinated, and has the full support of the merchant mariner community.
Having seen the pirates' resilience, the NATO forces now decide to focus even more intensely on finding out what they can from those who know best, the merchants and fishermen that regularly cross these hostile waters. Surprised by the daring attempt of the pirates to take on a military ship, the surveillance activities and vigilance of the ships within the fleet is stepped up a notch. Not possessing a helicopter of their own, both the German FGS Spessart and the Dutch frigate Seven Provinces had to rely on the air assets of other ships in the area to successfully apprehend the pirates. As opposed to the Portuguese Corte Real, the Dutch frigate has to rely on radar and fast boats as a first line of surveillance. This means they get a lot closer, more frequently than some of their counterparts. This is all part of building a maritime situational awareness picture and to spread the message of the counter-piracy operation in the area. After all, the people that know the area best and are most likely to know of any illegal activity going on are the merchants and fishermen themselves.
This is at present is a cargo dhow, and we are querying him, asking some questions about the cargo, the complement, the amount of people on board. And if he answers properly, we will assess it, and then he can proceed. And if we have doubt, we will send our boarding team over just to talk to them together with our translator.
Our plan of action is to send our 2 small boats in the water to go and have a chat with the people on board of this vessel. The vessel is a cargo dhow, which comes from the United Arab Emirates, and it's on the way to Bassasso in Puntland. Bassasso is a known place where pirates operate from, so we assess that if we go there with our 2 small boats, including our translator who speaks Somalish, we can gather more intel from the ship about the activities of the pirates.
reducing piracy in this area, especially in the Horn of Africa. A lot of piracy is taking place. So why we're doing this? Hope to make it a better, a safer place for merchant vessels so they can cross these seas. Well, this boarding party is initiated because, these guys are sailing here a lot. So we hope by asking them questions why, if they see anything suspicious or what their cargo is, or there's a lot of fishing taking place in these areas, or they have seen any pirates or other suspicious things. So that's why we conducted this boarding. It's not even a boarding, we call it a visitation. Just to talk with them, and hopefully we got some good information from them. Because yeah, they used to sail here in these areas.
Over the next few days, reports of pirate activity again grind to a halt. Maybe it is the news of what happened to their countrymen that has stopped them from attacking for now. Nonetheless, the crews on board the NATO ships are not going to stop looking for them. As the crews on board the ships in the NATO fleet continue to perform their duties, their efforts appear to be having the desired effect. Over the next few days, no pirate incidents are reported in their area of operation, but is this presence of warships merely driving pirates to seek their bounty elsewhere?
It's possibly pushing pirates to another region, but this being the main thoroughfare for the world's shipping going through the Suez Canal, this is where we want to maintain our presence. And wherever we have a big grey warship, chances are there's going to be less activity in terms of piracy. So again, the amount of water space that we have to cover is vast, but trying to get as many grey hulls into that space to show the presence might deter, even if it deters one or two pirate activities in the course of a couple of months, it's worth having the ships here.
And the numbers speak for themselves. Whereas the number of attacks has increased drastically, despite the increased presence of warships, the number of successful hijackings has decreased as a result of the various counter-piracy missions in the area. Whereas in October 2008, 1 in 3 hijackings was successful, this number has dropped to 1 in 7 in March this year.
We have to be positive. We're here to do a mission, and I think the results are speaking for themselves in this area. I can't speak for other areas. But as a NATO force, we're here to conduct the mission, and we appear to be achieving that at the moment. I wouldn't wish to tempt fate, but that's the way that we could certainly indicate that our efforts here are having very fruitful gains. And I think it's important that people at home realise that we are doing a job out here, and because they're not hearing about piracy incidents, amongst or involving NATO forces, is actually a measure of our success, not a measure of our failure. It's a wonderful opportunity to be given as a member of the Royal Navy to work with other nations' navies and with other countries, and it's an experience that I think everyone should wish to do, because you can learn so much more from operating with other nations and other countries. You learn how they do things and how we do things, and we get to exchange ideas about the way we operate. And that's what is so good about NATO, that it encourages people to interoperate, not just between units, but also interoperate as people. And it's a wonderful opportunity, and anybody that has the opportunity should take it.
This is an exciting mission, yeah. It's very exciting to be part of NATO, conducting operations in this part of the world, and contributing to maintaining security throughout this area.
While the problem of banditry at sea means that there is a continued need for counter-piracy missions in the Gulf of Aden, the international community is addressing the broader roots of the problem as laid out in the framework of the UN-mandated contact group on piracy off the coast of Somalia. Piracy, though a maritime phenomenon, is after all a symptom of poverty and lawlessness on land in Somalia.
Ultimately, nations and people in desperate circumstances will do what they can to survive. But there is obviously, one could assume, I don't know, but there is undoubtedly a criminal element involved. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that is involved, it's clearly makes economic sense to those people who are doing it. What we've got to do is convince them that it's not. That's not our mission.
Emma 21.